The beggar on Rust Station 9. Rust Station 9 was a forgotten place. Floating near a dead planet on the edge of the galaxy, it smelled like oil, smoke, and old machines. The walls were covered in rust, and the lights flickered like they were tired of staying on. John Rivers sat in a small food stall, slurping cheap noodles from a plastic bowl. He was a cargo pilot, a human, and not the friendly kind. He worked alone, talked little, and trusted no one. That was the rule in places like this, but that night, something different happened as he finished his noodles. A figure stepped out from the shadows. It was small, wearing a long, dirty cloak with the hood pulled over its head. The cloak dragged along the ground, covered in dust and stains. The figure said nothing. It just raised a thin, alien hand, palm open, asking for food. John frowned. Begging was common on Rust Station 9. Aliens from broken worlds, soldiers from lost wars, robots missing parts, everyone wanted something. But this one felt different. She didn't speak, didn't beg with words, just stood there, still, waiting. John looked around. Other people ignored her. Some even laughed, but her silence. It wasn't weakness. It felt like quiet strength. He pushed the rest of his noodles toward her. "Here," he said, not knowing why he even cared. She took the bowl gently, sat down on the floor beside the stall, and ate slowly. She didn't thank him, didn't look up, but John noticed her hands. They were shaking, and her fingers were scarred, like she had been through something. Something bad. "Where are you from?" John asked. No answer. "What's your name?" Still silence, just the sound of noodles being eaten carefully, as if every bite had to last. John sighed, stood up, and walked away. But a few steps later, he stopped. He turned his head slightly, watching her from the corner of his eye. She was still sitting there, holding the empty bowl in her lap like it was a gift. Something tugged at him, maybe guilt, maybe curiosity. "Come on," he said, not too loud. "You can sleep on my ship for the night. Safe there." The figure stood up slowly, then followed him without a word. Back at his ship, the Starling, John showed her the small spare bunk. "Don't touch anything," he said. "Rest, then leave in the morning." She nodded, still not speaking. She sat on the bunk, legs pulled close, hood still hiding her face. John sat at the controls, pretending to check readings, but his eyes kept going back to her. Something felt off, but not dangerous, more like puzzle, waiting to be solved. The silence lasted a long time, until finally she spoke. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper. "Why did you help me?" John looked at her, surprised. "You looked hungry," he replied. "That's all," slowly. She reached up with both hands, gripping the edge of her hood. Then, in one smooth motion, she pulled it back. John's breath caught in his throat. Her skin was pale silver, marked with strange glowing lines that moved like liquid. Her eyes? They weren't just alien. They were alive with color, shifting from blue to gold to violet. Energy pulsed behind them. Something powerful, ancient. She looked straight at him and said, "My name is Zyra." John tried to speak, but no words came out. He had seen many species before, but never anything like her. Zyra continued, "They are hunting me." "Who?" John asked, finally finding his voice. "The Empire," she whispered. "And others worse than them." John's chest tightened. He had heard of the Empire's secret hunters' ghost ships. No records, no mercy. "They know I'm here." Asked, she nodded. "But they don't know you helped me." Yet, John stood up, pacing the small cabin. "This is bad," he said. "I should have walked away. I can leave," Zyra said softly. "But if I die, many others will too." "What are you?" John asked. "You're not just a beggar?" Zyra looked down at her hands, the glowing veins of energy flowing faster now. "I am the last of my kind," she said. "And I carry something the galaxy wants to bury." John stared at her. The weight Of her words sinking in, he had just helped a stranger. A silent beggar on a forgotten station, and now the galaxy was about to change. Outside the ship, in the dark hangar, something blinked red. A small tracker had activated. Sending a silent signal to space, they were already coming. Asterisk inside the Starling, the air felt heavy. Like the calm before a storm, John Rivers stood near the door, hand resting on the sidearm at his hip. His eyes stayed locked on the strange alien girl now resting on his bunk. Zira, she had called herself. Her glowing eyes had dimmed a little, but they still shimmered like stars trapped in a storm. She sat silently, as if waiting for him to decide. What to do next? John finally spoke. You said the Empire is hunting you. Zira nodded slowly. Yes, and they won't stop. What did you steal? He asked. Why are you running? Zira looked down at her hands. From the folds of her cloak, she pulled out a small black cube, no bigger than a fist. It looked dead just, a solid block of metal, but the moment she touched its center, faint lines lit up in blue. This, she whispered, is why they want me dead. John frowned, stepping closer. Looks like a piece of junk. He muttered. Zira gave a weak smile. That's what they want you to think. She placed the cube on the table in the middle of the ship's main room when her fingers moved. Over it in a pattern, the cube came alive. A soft hum filled the air, and a glowing hologram appeared above it. Spinning rings, symbols in alien languages, and a moving star chart. John stared. That's ancient tech. It's older than Sublexure. It's older than Sublexure. It's older than Sermodio Cello. Unclosing Caller. And a glowing hologram appeared. A place in surge. Note Cello Cinza. My seasons, more season, Morian sires. Mio Silo, Gripede, my seasoned. R.C. Keyed, my Surret. With side cellos, it has had. We leave it. By we a why it. It's a wide. With their re-leady sitikakit. Go see it. Me sick a sikit. They sit leaked sikakit to up. I kakusit like a kitit. It's sit it to lee. I kalkis big. They bit like cake to sipples to listen to the holopathic sick. This up with it of sick. The Empire, Zira said. Maybe older than humans. John raised an eyebrow. How do you have it? Zira stood slowly, pulling aside part of her cloak on her shoulder. Partly hidden beneath silver skin was a Marcus symbol. Burned into her flesh, it glowed faintly, just like the cube. I'm Valari, she said. Or, what's left of them? John froze. The Valari were a myth. A powerful alien race wiped out a century ago in a war so deadly, the records were erased. Valari are extinct, he said quietly. They tried to make us extinct, Zira replied. They hunted us. Down. Planet by planet. She stepped closer, her voice steady now. This cube was hidden in a vault under the old Valari temple on Varix Prime. I took it because the Empire wants to destroy it. John crossed his arms. Why? Because it holds the truth, she said. Truth about what came before the Empire. Before the first colony. Before even the Earth split from the core worlds. John shook his head. So what? It's a history lesson. No, Zira said firmly. It's a key, and it only works with one thing: pure human DNA. John's mouth went dry. He glanced back at the cube, which was now showing symbols he could almost read. How do you know it needs human DNA, Zira? Looked at him sadly, because the last time we tried to activate it, the Valari priest died. The system rejected him. John laughed bitterly. So you just happened to find me, a human, on a forgotten space station? I didn't find you, she said. The cube did. John blinked. What? When you gave me food, it pulsed. Zira said. The cube. It recognized you. It led me to you. John stepped back. suddenly uneasy. "This is insane," he muttered. "I'm not a hero. I'm not a soldier. I'm just a cargo pilot." Zyra walked up to him, gently placing the cube in his hands. "Touch." "It," she said. John hesitated, then pressed his palm against the glowing surface. In a flash, the hologram expanded. Symbols shifted, and a voice echoed through the ship. "Human confirmed, key bearer identified." Pathway unlocked, John stumbled back, dropping the cube, which landed softly on the table, still glowing. "What the hell was that?" he breathed. Before Zyra could answer, a loud beep sounded from the ship's console. John rushed over and looked at the screen. A bounty alert was flashing, red and urgent. The screen showed Zyra's face, and below it, his own, wanted Valeri. Fugitive and human accomplice. Reward, 10 million credits. Dead or alive, John stared in horror. "They put a bounty on me too. They know you helped me," Zyra said, voice low. "We need to leave." John looked around the small ship, his hands tightening into fists. "This is what I get for helping someone eat dinner," he muttered. Then he looked at Zyra. Her glowing eyes were filled with fear, but also hope. She wasn't just a runaway. She was carrying something that could change everything, and now, so was he. John took the controls. Powering up the Starling outside, shadows moved through the hangar. People were coming, and not the friendly kind. As the engines roared to life, Zyra whispered, "They'll follow us now, everywhere." John didn't look back. "Let them try," he said, and they blasted into space, leaving Rust Station 9 behind. The engines of the Starling screamed to life, shaking the old hangar of Rust Station 9. Dust and smoke filled the air as the ship lifted off the ground, its thrusters burning orange beneath the hull. John Rivers didn't waste time. His hands moved fast across the controls, flipping switches and punching coordinates into the nav drive. Beside him, Zyra sat still, her hood back, eyes focused, glowing brighter now. She didn't blink, didn't speak, just stared ahead as if she could already see what was coming. Behind them, the hangar doors opened, shadows rushed in bounty hunters, station guards, and desperate criminals chasing that 10 million credit reward, all armed, all ready to shoot. A voice crackled over the radio. Cold and sharp. "Starling, power down your ship. Surrender the Valeri." John ignored it. He pressed the jump prep button. Watching the nav console light up slowly, too slowly, Zyra leaned forward. "They'll try to disable the engines. Then we leave before they get the chance," John said through clenched teeth. Gunfire sparked off the hull. The ship rocked under impact. The hangar guards had brought heavy blasters, not standard station weapons. Someone important had given them gear and orders. The cum buzzed again. This time, a different voice. Deeper, with no emotion. "John Rivers, you are aiding a war criminal. Surrender or be destroyed." John frowned. "That's not station security," Zyra looked up, eyes wide. "That's them. That's not the Empire." It's worse. Outside the hangar, a black ship hovered like a shadow in space. It had no markings, no ID, no signal. It moved with unnatural silence, sliding through space like it didn't belong there. "Who are they?" John asked. "They're called the Null Ancient Assassins, forgotten by history. Working in the dark for those who fear truth," Zyra said, her voice cold now. "If they catch us, they won't ask questions." John pulled the ship higher, swerving to avoid the bursts of gunfire now tearing through the roof. The nav screen flashed green coordinates locked. "Hold tight," John warned, jumping in 10. Zyra pressed her hand against the cube, which began to glow again. Symbols flickered, and the artifact pulsed with energy. The black ship reacted immediately. Its front panels opened, revealing long, glowing spikes aimed at the Starling. John's heart raced. "What kind of weapons are those?" "Gravitic harpoons," Zyra said quickly. If they hit us, we're trapped. He dove the ship hard left, engines straining, alarms screaming. One of the harpoons fired it missed, exploding against the wall of the station. Tearing a hole in the hangar, suction pulled debris into space. And one of the bounty hunters vanished into the stars. Zyra shouted, "We have to jump now." 3 seconds, John yelled back. He turned the ship upward, engines burning white-hot. Another harpoon fired this one closer, almost brushing. The hull then, just as the screen hit 0, the starling disappeared. Space folded around them, and the stars stretched into long white lines. They had jumped, silence returned. The ship hummed softly as it floated through hyperspace, the chaos behind them now just memory. John leaned back, exhaling slowly. That was close, Zyra nodded. But her expression didn't relax. They'll follow us, the Knoll have tech that can track energy signatures even through hyperspace. Then we need to go somewhere dark, somewhere off the grid, John said. He typed new coordinates. This time leading toward an old mining sector full of abandoned asteroids and pirate. Zyra looked at the cube again, the glow now steady. "It responded to your jump," she whispered. John raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean?" "It means you're connected to it now," she said. "It's bonded to your signal." John laughed dryly. "Great, so I'm not just helping a wanted alien. I'm now carrying a magical cube that lights up like a Christmas tree." Zyra smiled. Faintly, "You could have left me. You didn't." John glanced at her, then back at the stars. He didn't answer. He didn't know why he helped her. Maybe he was tired of running cargo. Tired of watching the galaxy fall apart while he did nothing. Maybe, deep down, he was looking for something worth fighting for. Zyra sat back down, closing her eyes for the first time in hours. Her breathing slowed, her body relaxed. John stayed. Awake, fingers on the controls. In front of him, the dark edge of space opened wide. Whatever came next, he knew one thing. He couldn't go back. Not anymore. Asterisk, the asteroid belt around Sector B7 was a graveyard. Broken rocks drifted through empty space like the bones of long-dead giants. Old mining stations, stripped clean and left to rot, floated between them like ghost ships. The Starling drifted into the shadows. Its lights off, its engines cold. John. Rivers sat in the pilot's seat, scanning the quiet space ahead. Nothing moved, no signals. No ships, no voices, just silence. Zyra stood behind him, staring out the front window, her eyes still glowing faintly. "This place is forgotten," she whispered. "Perfect." They landed on a dead rock with a hollowed-out mining dome, the entrance half buried in dust. John checked the scanners. No power sources, no life signs, no traps. He looked at Zyra. "Time to tell me everything." Inside the mining dome, they found a room with old lights that barely flickered on. They cleared a table and placed the cube in the center. Zyra sat across from John, pulling back her sleeves, revealing more glowing lines across her arms. "They tried to erase us," she said. "Not just my people, the Volari, but the truth too." John leaned forward, arms crossed. "What truth?" She touched the cube, and it responded instantly, rising into the air. Light spilled across the room, forming a 3D map of the galaxy planets. Stars, roots, long lost to time. Zyra pointed to a blinking blue dot near the center. "This is where it all started," she said. "Long before the Empire, before even the core worlds. There was a force spreading across space." John frowned. "Aliens." Zyra shook her head. "Humans," she said. "You were the first explorers, the first builders. The others followed, but something happened. A war. The map changed, planets turned red. Symbols twisted into warnings. Humans vanished from history," Zyra said. "Or maybe someone erased their role." John stared at the display. "I thought Earth was lost during the collapse." "It wasn't lost," Zyra said quietly. It was hidden. She tapped the cube again, and an ancient human symbol appeared, a triangle. Inside a circle, the Volari found this symbol on ruins older than anything we knew. We called it the origin mark, but we never understood it. John leaned in. "I've seen that before," he said slowly, "in an old Earth museum on a coin." Zyra's eyes widened. "The cube reacts to you because you carry that bloodline. You're not just human, John. You're connected to the first generation." The cube pulsed, and a voice filled the room against him. "Old and artificial, human pattern confirmed. Command protocol unlocked." The light shifted, and now the cube showed a different image. A planet surrounded by rings, covered in green and blue Earth. But this version of Earth looked different, brighter, cleaner, surrounded by satellites with strange markings. John stepped back. "That can't be real. Earth doesn't look like that anymore." "This isn't the Earth, you know," Zyra said. "This is Earth." Before what?" John almost asked, but the cube spoke again. "Vaults active. 3 of 7 remain. Next coordinates assigned." A set of numbers appeared in the air, blinking red. "Coordinates to what?" John asked. "Vaults," Zyra said. "Places where your ancestors hid knowledge, technology, maybe even weapons." John's heart pounded. "Why me? I'm not special. I fly crates through asteroid belts." Zyra looked at him calmly. "You help someone in need without asking for anything. That's what made you special." Suddenly, the lights in the dome flickered, then died. The cube's glow dimmed, pulsed once, then cut out. John drew his blaster instantly from the shadows. A voice echoed, metallic, hollow. "You opened it." Zyra froze. "That's a null voice." She whispered, "They found us." John pulled her behind him, scanning the dark. A shape moved near the entrance, tall and armored, with eyes glowing like dying suns. Another shadow followed it. Then a third. 3 null agents, no visible weapons. But their hands crackled with dark energy. "You shouldn't have touched the artifact," one of them said, voice flat. "It doesn't belong to you." "It doesn't belong to you either," John snapped. He fired a shot. The blaster bolt hit a null's chest and scattered into sparks. No damage. Zyra grabbed the cube, whispering something in a language John didn't understand. The artifact glowed again, bright, wild, and a wave of energy exploded outward. The null stumbled back, just for a second. "Run," Zyra said. Now they bolted through the dome's tunnels. The cube glowing in Zyra's arms. John sealed the door behind them, slamming the ship's airlock shut as soon as they climbed aboard. The null were close, but not fast enough. Engines roared, and the Starling shot back into space, leaving the dark dome behind, inside the cockpit. John stared at the stars. He had just touched an ancient artifact, been chased by ghost assassins, and seen a version of Earth that shouldn't exist. He turned to Zyra. "What's in those vaults?" he asked. She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Proof, power, and maybe the end of the Empire." The Starling cruised through silent space, heading toward the next vault. The stars stretched far behind, and the hum of the engines filled the ship like a heartbeat. Steady and alive, John Rivers stood at the console, eyes on the coordinates blinking. Softly, Vault 2, deep inside the Veil Nebula. Zyra sat nearby, the artifact cradled in her arms like it was made of glass. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Her eyes were tired, but her mind stayed sharp. "There's something about this vault," she said. "I can feel it." John nodded. "This one's different. The signal's stronger, almost calling." But something was wrong. The signal had a second pulse hidden under the surface, a second source bouncing off nearby satellites. Zyra noticed it too. "Someone else is tracking it," she said, voice tense. "We're not alone." John tightened his grip on the controls. I know someone who might help you, someone from my past. Zero raised an eyebrow. Can we trust them? John didn't answer. Instead, he sent a tight beam. Message across the nearest relay, encrypted, untraceable, using an old military code. The reply came minutes later. One word. Come. They docked at an outpost hidden inside a hollow asteroid. No lights, no beacons, just metal and silence. It was an old pirate den once. Now long abandoned door, so it seemed. Inside, the air smelled like dust and old fuel. And from the shadows stepped a tall woman in armor, her face lined with scars. Her hair was tied back, and her eyes were sharp like broken glass. John Rivers, she said, smiling slightly. Didn't think I'd see you again? Hello, Lorne, John said, voice flat. This is Zyra. Lorne looked at Zyra carefully. A Valari. I thought they were wiped out. They tried, Zyra said. Not hiding her distrust, Lorne walked closer, circling the artifact like a predator studying prey. You really found one of the cubes, she said. You have no idea what this is. Worth? It's not for sale, John said quickly. Lorne chuckled. Relax. I'm not here to steal it. I'm here to help. But something about her tone made Zyra uneasy. Her body tensed and her fingers gripped the cube tighter. Do you trust her? Zyra asked in a whisper later as they walked through the outpost. She saved my life once. John replied, but that was a long time ago. That night, John tried to sleep in the crew quarters. The stars outside blinked through the viewing window-like distant memories, but he couldn't rest. Something felt off, suddenly. A loud crash echoed through the halls. John jumped to his feet and ran toward the main bay. He found Zyra on the floor, stunned, the cube gone. Lorne stood above her with a blaster. Sorry, John, she said coldly. The Empire pays better. John aimed his weapon. Don't do this, he said, voice shaking with rage. Lorne shook her head. You think this is about credits? That cube holds enough knowledge to change the galaxy. The Empire won't let that happen. She turned and ran, vanishing through a side hatch. The alarm started blaring. The Starling systems had been hacked, locked down. John pounded the console, trying to override the security. Zyra stood slowly. Holding her side where she'd been hit, she took the cube, she said. She's giving it to them. John's face hardened. Then we're getting it back. Lorne didn't run far. She boarded a sleek shuttle waiting outside the asteroid. And within minutes, she was flying toward the nearest Imperial outpost. But John was faster. He rerouted power to the Starling's engines. Bypassing the lockdowns, the ship roared to life, and within moments, they were chasing her through the asteroid field. John fired warning shots, each one missing on purpose. Pull. Up. He shouted into the comm. No one has to die, but Lorne didn't answer. Zyra touched the screen gently, and for a second, the artifact pulsed again through space. Through metal, through systems, the cube heard her, even from a distance. It answered. The Imperial shuttle sparked. Lights flickering as the artifact rejected Lorne's touch. She screamed as energy burned through her arm. Dropping the cube to the floor, John saw the moment and acted. He locked onto the shuttle signal, beamed in through emergency override, and transported the cube back aboard the Starling. The moment it arrived, the ship glowed from the inside, soft, blue, and alive. It welcomed them. Lorne's ship spiraled, engines failing, and disappeared into the dark. No explosion, just silence. Back aboard the Starling, John looked at Zyra. I trusted her, he said quietly. She made her choice, Zyra replied. Placing the cube back on the table, it's not over. They'll send more. John looked at the stars, his eyes no longer filled with doubt. Let them come, he said. This time, we fight back. The cube sat in the center of the Starling's table, pulsing like a beating heart. Outside the ship, the stars drifted slowly past the window, glowing like soft lanterns in endless black. John Rivers stared at it, jaw clenched, mind racing. He still couldn't believe Lorne had betrayed him. He couldn't believe how far he had come from cargo runner to fugitive to something more. Zira stood near the cube, eyes closed, hands slightly raised. The artifact spoke to her in whispers no one else could hear. "It's opening," she said softly. "It wants to show us something." The cube lifted into the air, light blooming out in all directions. Then a shape appeared, floating above the table tall. Cloaked in light, face hidden beneath a shifting metallic hood. Identity confirmed, the figure said in a calm, ancient voice, human keybearer. Detected Commander Protocol initiating. John blinked. What? Commander? What? The figure raised a hand, and the ship began to change. Panels slid open. Long dormant systems lit up, and hidden consoles emerged from the floor. "This ship is more than it appears," the voice said. "It was built from R-class wreckage, designed for command, hidden until the rightful heir returned." John turned slowly, taking in the transformation. His ship was alive. Not just flying scrap, but a vessel of the old fleet. Zira stepped forward, voice trembling. With awe, "This isn't just a cargo ship, it's part of the ARC program." John shook his head, confused. "What's the ARC program?" The holographic figure stepped closer in humanity's first expansion. 7 ARC ships were launched. Each carried a generation of explorers, scientists, and protectors. They were meant to defend and rebuild if the galaxy ever fell into darkness. "Like now," John muttered. "Yes." The AI replied. The Empire buried the ARCs, afraid of what they represented: hope, freedom, resistance. The cube glowed brighter, sinking with the ship. "You, John Rivers, are the last surviving bloodline of the ARC commanders." John stumbled back. "No, that can't be true. I don't even know who my parents were. I was raised in a trade colony." The AI turned to him. "Your records were erased, but your blood remembers." Zira looked at John, eyes wide. "I told you the artifact chose you," she said. "You didn't just find it. It called you." John sat down slowly. He felt the weight of every decision, every escape, every moment of kindness that had brought him here. "I'm just one man," he whispered. "You're not alone anymore," Zira said. Suddenly, the ship's console lit up with a warning. A fleet was approaching. Multiple ships, marked not by the Empire but by something darker, older. "The Null, they found us," John said. "Standing, how many?" "Too many," Zira said, scanning the display. 5 ships, maybe more." The AI stepped forward again. "Then it is time to awaken what sleeps." The cube expanded, firing a beam of light into the heart of the starling. New panels slid open near the back of the ship, revealing a chamber John had never seen: circular, glowing, ancient place. "Your hand on the core," the AI instructed. "Begin the transfer." John stepped into the chamber, his footsteps echoing the walls. Were covered in writing, human and alien combined. He reached out and placed his hand on the crystal heart of the ship. Light exploded around him. Memories not his own rushed into his mind, battles across stars. Voices from a forgotten crew, the last stand of Earth's defenders. It was overwhelming. Painful, beautiful. He gasped and stepped back, his eyes wide, his chest rising fast. "I saw them," he whispered. "The first commanders." The AI nodded. "They left their memories behind. You now carry them. You are Commander John Rivers, heir of the ARC." Outside, the Null fleet closed in, shadows moving through the stars. John walked back to the pilot's seat, his hands steady now. He no longer felt like a cargo runner. He felt ready. "Let's give them a reason to fear humans again," he said. Zira smiled. "Welcome back, Commander." The starling lit up, engines glowing like fire, shields humming with ancient energy. John activated the new controls, weapons rising. From hidden compartments, one by one, enemy ships appeared on the radar, surrounding them. John took a deep breath. This is for Lorne, for the Valari, for everyone they tried to erase. He pressed the trigger. And the Starling fired a beam of blue energy that tore straight through the lead null ship. The others scattered in shock. John spun the ship, weaving through fire, faster than anything the Null had ever seen. He wasn't just surviving now. He was leading, fighting, commanding, and as Zyra held the cube close, she whispered to herself, "The galaxy has no idea what's coming." Space was quiet again, but it didn't feel peaceful. The remains of the Null fleet drifted like shattered glass. Glowing softly in the darkness, the Starling hovered at the edge of the Veil Nebula. Its engines low, its crew silent, inside the ship. John Rivers stood near the viewing window. His eyes stared far ahead, not at the stars. But at something hidden behind them. Zyra placed the artifact on the console. "It's time," she said quietly. "The cube has one more task." The hologram from the cube appeared again. But this time, it showed only one image. A planet, blue and green, surrounded by rings of light. John stepped closer. "Is that Earth?" Zyra nodded slowly. "Not the Earth you remember. This is the real Earth, the one the Empire hid." The artifact glowed brighter. And coordinates locked into the ship's systems. A gateway opened in space. A spiral of gold and white, pulsing like a heartbeat. John stared into it. So that's where they buried the truth. Zyra looked at him with a soft smile. "It's where it all began." They passed through the gate, and the stars changed, colors shifted, time bent. And space twisted gently around them. Then suddenly calm, stillness, light. And there it was, Earth, not broken, not burned, but whole, alive, and watching a hidden world. Wrapped in a cloaking field strong enough to blind entire fleets. John couldn't speak for the first time in his life. He was home, truly home, Evan, if he had never seen it before. Zyra touched the cube one final time, and it lifted into the air. The ship's speakers echoed with a new voice, deeper, older, human, signal unlocked. Broadcasting across all known systems across the galaxy, screens turned on, in slums, in ships. In royal palaces and war rooms, everyone heard it. A voice, calm and powerful, to the lost, to the broken. To the forgotten, this is Earth. Images of the ancient Ark fleet filled the sky. Old footage of humans building cities among stars, standing beside other species in peace. The truth that had been erased was now alive again. We were never gone. We were waiting. We are humanity, and we are rising. In the Empire's control chamber, panic spread, admirals shouted, guards scrambled, and leaders froze as the signal cut through all firewalls, all silence, a general whispered. They found it. Earth is still alive on Rust Station 9. The same alley where Zyra once begged for food. A little alien boy stared at the screen above the bar. He watched the Earth appear and smiled. "Human," he said. "Told you they were special." Back on the Starling, the cube dimmed gently and dropped back into John's hands. Zyra turned to him, her voice soft. "You've done what no one else could. You reminded the galaxy what it forgot." John looked at Earth, then at Zyra. "I just helped a stranger eat dinner," he said with a half smile. "The rest kind of happened." She laughed quietly. Sometimes, kindness is the strongest weapon. A new signal appeared on the ship's console. A response from Earth itself, old military codes buried deep. Now active again. Command recognized. Arc status online. Fleet awakening. John's heart skipped. Fleet. Zyra stepped beside him. Earth has been sleeping, but it was never dead. It has been building. Hiding. Waiting for you. John took a deep breath. The weight of a galaxy on his shoulders, but this time he didn't feel alone. Behind him was Zyra, once a beggar, now a leader. Around him was a ship tied to ancient legends, and ahead Earth, not just a planet, but a symbol. In the following days, the news spread faster than the Empire could silence it. People rose, rebellions sparked, old allies returned from hiding, and in every corner of space, a whisper grew louder. The humans are back, not as conquerors, not as survivors, but as commanders. One final message appeared on the Galactic feed, a clip of John standing on the deck of the Starling, looking into the camera with quiet strength. "They tried to erase us," he said. "They buried our name, our truth, our past, but we are not ghosts. We are not myths, we are humanity, and this time we write our own ending." In the silence that followed across star systems, people rose from their seats, not in fear, but in hope, and so the beggar girl and the forgotten pilot became the spark that lit 1,000 stars. Together, they changed a galaxy that had forgotten what it meant to be human.